At the beginning of the issue, the Omega Men, considered low-level heroes in this universe, are searching through a building in the desert. They quietly enter that building, but the emptiness inside the building makes them feel uneasy. Soon after, the leader of the Omega Men is struck by a sudden purple blast. His skin shrivels away until only his inner flesh remains. Then, Brainiac appears from above and fires 2 more blasts. 2 soldiers are hit, one starts vomiting up every bone in his body through his mouth, and the other loses all his muscles, leaving his body entirely limp. One last remaining soldier is left to witness all of this. He fires his gun wildly and tries to escape from the building. But Brainiac's final blast hits one of his arms, causing it to unnaturally enlarge. Then the cells inside his body grow uncontrollably until they burst out from within. On the next page, we see Brainiac bringing the last surviving soldier to his lab and experimenting on him. The soldier's brain has been removed and placed inside a glass tube. Yet somehow the soldier is still alive. He is in so much pain that he can't even scream, just groaning in agony. Meanwhile, Brainiac is obsessively investigating the source of something that's been troubling him lately. Of course, it's about Superman. The endlessly powerful Superman has been a constant source of frustration for him these days. What's worse is that not knowing any information about Superman is what's driving Brainiac even crazier. He yells at the bottled cities he has collected, "You're all useless fleas. So many of you across the galaxies and none of you know Superman? Impossible. You will tell me, or I'll turn your atmosphere into acid. I'll starve you until you're forced to eat your own children. Tell me who Superman is." And even after all the horrifying threats, he smashes one of the glass domes he's holding. "You're all useless to me," he says, then crushes the tiny people under his giant robotic foot, killing them brutally. And then, when he hears the moaning of the suffering soldier, his mood suddenly changes. He calms down. He tells the soldier, "I'm sorry you had to see that. Sometimes I lose my mind a bit when I'm angry." He adds that he's already carved out the offending parts of his brain, and that he may need to carve out more. At this point, it becomes clear, this guy is completely insane. This madman mistakes the soldier's groans of pain for speech and having a conversation with him. He even begins telling his own origin story. Many years earlier, he recalls the moment he first awakened. Like a system or a robot, he opens his eyes for the first time and sees a superior officer standing before him, telling him he is Brainiac 419,732 and serves the Brainiac Collective, a leadership system. He's told it's time to begin work, and a mission is assigned to him. This Brainiac seems smarter and he wants to ask questions. But the officer says that only level 88 effectors among Brainiacs are allowed to seek knowledge beyond their creation. Still, this Brainiac presses on and asks a question anyway. He wants to know what level he is. But the officer simply replies, 0, and hands him a shovel. Then says, "Your function is to dispose of refuse by shoveling it into the liquidator." Yet Brainiac continues asking questions. When he asks, "What is refuse?" he sees thousands of dead Brainiac bodies before him, more falling from above, and realizes this is what he must shovel. It gives off a vibe similar to Mickey 17 movie. It seems these guys are killing everyone who opposes the rules. Brainiac is left shocked and stunned. He seems to be more intelligent than the other Brainiacs. He doesn't resist the job he has to do. He chooses not to become one of the refuse. But he does ask one more question. "How long does my work shift last?" The officer simply replies, "For as long as you do," and leaves. From that moment, Brainiac begins his job, starting from day 1. He's been shoveling for over 2,800 days now. Still alive, still working. On that day, he unexpectedly discovers that one of the Brainiac corpses, holding a knife, is still alive. That Brainiac says, "I am Brainiac number over 8 million. I stab, I kill," and tries to attack the sanitation Brainiac. But the sanitation Brainiac says, "I'm sorry, I am Brainiac number over 400,000, and I shovel." Then he finishes the attacker by beheading him with the shovel. And so, after over 13,000 days, Brainiac had finally found some conversation companions. He says, "Thank you for agreeing to see me." As he keeps talking, he asks a question. "My question is, am I refuse?" And then we see he's been talking to dead Brainiac bodies this whole time. He's lined up the corpses and says to them, "Thank you for being my friends. Spending all these years working alone in this one place eventually made even this intelligent Brainiac snap. But still, he completes his work. He fulfills his duty to the very end. After 49,901 days, there are no more corpses left to bury. Then he approaches the door to report that his job is finished. He calls out, "Is anyone out there?" When no reply comes, he opens the door himself with his shovel and walks out. Along the path outside, he sees weapons, bottled cities, and unborn Brainiacs stored away. Then he sees a Brainiac sitting in the command seat and walks over to greet him. But when he gets closer, he finds out that this Brainiac is also dead. He also realizes that his entire life has been spent inside a giant starship. When he realizes the officer who first gave him the mission is now just another corpse he had to clean up, he finally understands. He is free. He stretches out his arms and cries out, "I am Brainiac!" But what did it cost? His mind is completely broken. That very day, he declares himself as level 100. And he stares at stars he has never seen before. And from that very day, I began collecting worlds. I became a true Brainiac. He explains to the soldier he's experimenting on. He continues, saying with an evil grin, "It would have been better for everyone, including me, if I stayed in that room with the shovel. But where would be the fun in that?" Then he contacts the Brainiac Collective, hoping someone there might have answers about Superman. The higher-ups appear one by one like a Zoom meeting, and one of them asks, "Who called this meeting?" Brainiac answers, "I did," and shares the information he has, asking if anyone knows the planet of origin of someone locally identified as Superman. But the leaders react in confusion. What is idiocy? These readings cannot be accurate. He must be from the Black Stars region. And finally, a woman's voice says, "Krypton." Turns out Superman's data matches with the planet Krypton. They never managed to develop interstellar travel. That planet was consumed by its own internal problems and eventually exploded. No Brainiac was ever interested enough to collect it, she explains. Then she sends Brainiac some samples of meteoroid remains from the planetary explosion. When Brainiac finally gets the answer he's been seeking, he is satisfied. But one last question comes from the meeting. "Who are you? What number Brainiac called this meeting?" Brainiac suddenly ends the call. And without wasting a second, he uses the data he just received and immediately creates a sample. Now he has kryptonite, the one thing that can hurt Superman. Finally, Brainiac smashed the brain of the soldier he was experimenting on against the ground, killing him. This shows that Brainiac tortured the soldier just to get information. It was pure cruelty. In the credit scene, we see Brainiac experimenting on another subject, Peacemaker, Christopher Smith. He is attaching metal parts to Peacemaker's body, turning him into some kind of cyborg. Confused by what's happening, Peacemaker says, "Is this punishment? Just kill me already." But Brainiac calmly replies, "You did an impressive job and you are being trusted with a special mission in Kansas." Behind Brainiac, we see that he has already developed an armor, kryptonite bullets, and a gun. So, the next issue is going to be absolutely intense. We'll be seeing a brutal showdown in Kansas. Peacemaker in kryptonite armor with kryptonite bullets, fighting Absolute Superman. If you're an Absolute Superman fan, let me know if you enjoyed the video and whether we should post the next issue of this comic. That's it for today. See you next time. Have a beautiful day.